Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. Donde está los Applebees? I don't know why I said that.
How do you say Applebee's in Spanish?
I think Applebee's. I don't think there's another term for it. But it's Brien with Rob and Ashley. We're here to talk about the Mexican race and everything else that happened this past week. So, folks, how we doing?
Pretty good. Pretty wild weekend for me. Got to do a little bit of racing. Did a whole lot of playing drums with the band and getting ready for our shows coming up, and a whole lot of sitting around and drinking tequila. Great weekend. How about you, True Love?
Well, now I'm Googling how to say Applebee's
so
in Spanish. Manzana is apple.
What's funny is Google just automatically pulls up English when you...
Abeja is bee.
Let's see here.
Manzana abeja.
English to Spanish. I'm good. Translate from English. I want to see it too.
It's abejas. That's all I'm getting. Was Applebee itself isn't a word, so I don't.
Right. So I just said apple and bee.
Yeah.
Off to a great start here.
Yeah. Anyways, so we're Googling shit.
We weren't expecting Brien to spring that on us.
I know.
It just came out of me. So what can I say? But yeah, Mexico happened, and we're here to talk about it. And let's see here. So an ARCA race happened in America, but none of us watched it, so there's nothing to say there. Don't know who won, don't care.
Like I said, if a tree falls in the forest, or an ARCA race happens in the forest, and no one's there to watch it on FS2, did it really happen? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
But I assume Brent Cruz probably won it, or Butterbean.
Trayton.
Leipzig.
Trayton. What the fuck kind of name is Trayton? Jesus.
Name of a child.
Cars Tour guys.
I didn't even know there was an ARCA race until we were driving home from West Virginia, and we passed the ARCA hauler going north towards Michigan. I was like, oh, there's ARCA races?
Where were they? Flat Rock or?
Berlin.
Oh, right.
So.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Well, yeah, that happened. But yeah, let's see here. So, picking up from last week, there were some travel issues, which I guess should have been expected on some capacity.
Not quite like this, though.
Yeah, maybe not so much an engine exploding, leaving the airport in Charlotte, which I don't know who exactly was on the plane, but I know there's a lot of scrambling to get people on.
SVG was on that plane.
Yeah, SVG was on for sure.
I think it was most of the Trackhouse organization, which is wild.
Yeah. And I think Ryan Ellis, too, he had issues. And
Legacy's plane, apparently they didn't have proper clearance from Homeland Security, so they had to find other arrangements. And I think they're part of the crew that drove to Atlanta to catch a commercial flight down to Mexico, which sucks.
Stuart Haas had to drive to Atlanta, too.
Yeah, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Well, even Dale Jr. said he had some weird route where he was on a chartered plane, but something happened with the flight, and he had to take a commercial flight into Mexico somewhere. So, I don't know. A lot of shit going on, but, I mean, that's not even necessarily a NASCAR thing. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the news, there's been a lot of flight issues this year, so that kind of is what it is.
But Dave Moody saying Dave Moody things.
Oh, yeah, Dave Moody with the tweet of the weekend. Just basically just saying like, if there was an explosion at the airport, it would take out all of NASCAR, and that got the response you would have thought.
This post has been deleted.
Yeah, not that he was necessarily wrong, but it's just not something you tweet, especially if you're at the airport. That is an instant way to get taken aside by TSA. So, it's Dave Moody. He's not the brightest bulb out there. So
sure, Denny Hamlin was glad he didn't have to deal with any travel issues.
And he didn't.
No. He stayed home. They finally had the baby, like literally at the deadline. I think she had it on Thursday, and it was like, yeah, I'm not going. So,
I just want to know the damn baby's name. That's all I care about. Tell me the name.
They haven't released it yet. Release the name, Denny.
No.
Well, the podcast hasn't come out yet, so I'm assuming he'll probably say it on there. But yeah, so
you guys got any guesses?
Later.
No. Harry Hamlin.
Harry Hamlin.
That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
I think it'll be something less stupid than rookie. That's for sure. I don't think.
I think it'll start with an H, though.
Probably. Yeah, Howard.
Yeah, that's a fair bet, I would say.
Howard Hamlin.
Howie Hamlin. Anyway.
Yeah, so that was Friday getting there, and the teams that did make it there on time, they kind of got the lay of the land. We got a really cute little video from RFK, who on their track walk found a stray dog that was wandering on the racetrack, and Brian Priest, listen, I'm already a Priest fan, but he was wanting to grab the thing and take it home, so that really warmed my heart quite a bit as a dog guy. So
dog didn't want anything to do with it, though.
No, dog did not want anything.
It's perfectly fine scrounging around for hot dog wrappers at a racetrack. So.
Mm-hmm. But thankfully, there were no dogs on the track the rest of the weekend, so we were all very nervous about that. So no dogs were harmed in the racing this weekend. Moving on to Saturday, though, Daniel Suarez. So he started off the weekend in a real bad spot, crashed in practice, and had to go to a backup car, and had to start dead last.
It's a promoter's option.
Yes, the international promoters option.
Which is kind of funny because they're in Mexico, and it's not really international because, I guess Daniel Suarez is an American citizen now.
Yeah.
So however you want to swing that one. But, yeah, another use of that promoter's option, which I know people were kind of pissed off about that. But, I mean, Suarez is the draw, and you see that at short tracks all over the place. They'll do a promoter's option to get the big guy in the show. So, no harm, no foul.
And I was just bummed that beautiful green and gold Quaker State scheme was lost.
I don't know, dude.
Black.
I thought that thing looked fucking badass.
I like the original one better.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah. But honestly, it was mainly Connor Zilich's race, and it was his to lose. I mean, he aside from some battles with Ty Gibbs, it seemed like it was going to be his, but towards the end of the race, there was a restart, and he got into it with a few different people and, got shuffled back and damaged his car a bit and was able to work his way back up to like 5th, but that's as far as he could go. Which also to be said, people noted, it's funny, Connor seems to get a good rap on TV, like the announcers and stuff were trying to play up how good of a driver he was and all that.
He's a fucking wrecking ball.
Yeah, but he also was up. He was up Ty Gibbs' ass and knocked him out of the way a few times, and wasn't necessarily a shock to see him get kind of pushed around a bit too. But again, it was his race to lose. I think if that one restart didn't happen, it would have been his. But Suarez just kind of made a slow climb up throughout the entire day and managed to make his way to the front towards the end and get the victory. Although Taylor Gray, he tried the last turn. Yeah, the last turn coming out of the stadium back onto the front stretch. He did his best to get to Daniel's bumper, and I don't know if he just couldn't do it or maybe he thought better.
He was specifically told not to touch the 9 car.
Christian Eckes was told.
Christian Eckes as well, yeah.
That was probably. Who knows if Taylor would have made it out of Mexico if he had wrecked.
I was
on that last
screaming
time.
at the TV. I was about to be Taylor Gray's #1 hater.
Yeah,
for winning a race.
Taking that moment away from all of us.
Well, Taylor Gray is New Mexican, so technically he claims
Well, we're in old
10% of the of the rights to this one.
But yeah, no, Suarez got to have his moment and got the victory, and it was cool. I mean, again, it's unless you're like a diehard racist or a Suarez hater or something, like, I don't know how you cannot, feel some sort of good feeling out of that moment. I mean, the Mexican guy coming home to his home country and getting the victory in the first race there in 16, 17 years. And it's also a race, just the whole weekend in general was something he was very much involved in, the promotion. And I don't know how much, if he even had anything to do with the planning of it, but I mean, he definitely was involved in getting that race there. So
yeah, I mean, he's
cool.
the star. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, the crowd reaction to him was insane. I definitely, when he won, there was definitely someone cutting up some onions over here, just because the imagery of like his wife sobbing, and then like you could just, the smile on his face when he was getting to speak to the crowd in Spanish when he crawled out of the car, and like Dale Jr. hugged him, and that always tugs on my heartstrings.
I mean, it's been a while since he's laid an ass whooping on anybody. It doesn't happen all that often anymore since he's been out of the Xfinity series, and to finally be back in a car where he's 100% comfortable. That had to feel good to carve his way through, and again, especially on home turf. Monterey's pretty far away, but still, same country. It's cool.
Yeah. I also saw that I guess he's the first person in NASCAR history to not qualify and then win.
somehow I missed that, but
Fun fact.
it's not a shock.
Yeah, I do think it's a little fair for fans to look at that and kind of be skeptical, but I don't think there was any fuckery with this one. I think it's just that he's in a good car and with a good team, and
I mean, he started dead fucking last.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
it's
like
hard to
this
fake
is
that.
his first time on that track, so.
Yeah.
I have my first negative thing to say about the CW this weekend.
Oh shit. You tell. I wouldn't know. I've never watched the CW.
Well, they have their ticker on the bottom of the screen, which is always fine until this weekend when there was a storm alert scrolling bottom in my area the entire time. So I never knew what lap it was. I didn't know where half the field was. So
Well, that's a you problem, though. It
is a me problem, but if the ticker was on the left.
I kind of wonder if that's why the ticker always ends up at the top of the screen or on the side, because that's where information goes, is at the bottom.
Right.
Interesting. That sucks.
It sucks.
They were having a lot of audio issues too with practice and qualifying, but I mean that's whatever. It's just on the app, so I wasn't too offended by it. Which, let's see. So I guess anything else to say about the Xfinity race? It was a good race. I enjoyed it, but
I loved it.
yeah. Qualifying for Cup, it rained. They did a weird deal with all the the travel and the rain and stuff. They moved the practices together, and then they moved the qualifying together in one, big group. And it got cut off by the last 10, 15 minutes because of rain. But I mean, SVG had the pole anyways. So I mean, to me, there's not really a whole lot to say there. Ty
Priest
Gibbs
started
was
second.
He did.
Priest did start second, which was definitely a shock.
Yeah, I can't say he doesn't have much of a reputation as a road racer. So to see him come out, I mean, that's just a testament to how fucking quick that car is right now, too.
It was the spirit of that dog guiding him.
Yeah. There's a Pixar movie in there somewhere.
We mentioned Ty Gibbs was fast on Saturday, and he was good on Sunday. The race itself, I thought it was pretty action packed. I mean, there was a lot of banging and passing throughout the entire field, and
I mean, the rain definitely helped with that. Anytime the rain tires come out, you're bound to see something a little bit better. There's no fucking grip.
True, and also the weird thing about that was, I mean, they started the race and immediately called a caution because of rain, but then you had Cindric and Buescher and a handful of others staying out there on the dry tires.
Yeah,
which
that's
was
Cindric's signature move right there. He did that at Coda.
I didn't think that was going to work, but it did. I thought it was just going to be chaos on the restart, but they managed to all keep it together. They lost some spots.
Lap
but
7 was when the chaos started.
God damn it. Yeah.
Refresh my memory. The big wreck. Yes, the big wreck. Yeah, that was... I don't know what the hell happened there. I
Didn't
mean,
like it. Didn't like that one bit.
He was just cooking into that corner and took out, killed
About
both
6 cars.
Yeah, killed Larson and Gilliland's cars, and then fucked up AJ Allmendinger's car real bad, although he was able to still get a top 15 out of it. But I had his radio on for most of the day after that happened, and he was just so pissed off and frustrated and just like, fuck this car, fuck Kyle. Like, just so
well, I mean,
pissed off.
In his defense, that's like one of the few chances he has.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
that's got to suck to know this is like one of the 5 races this year I know I can be good at, and to just have it taken away from you right at the beginning sucks.
But to give him some credit, that he has done better this year, even on the ovals and stuff. I mean, he's had some good finishes. They have picked things back up, and even Ty Dillon has had his moments. So, colleagues definitely improved since last year. So, not that he's a threat at many of the ovals, but I don't think he's bad. I mean, he's still kind of on the cusp of the playoffs, and if he gets a win, obviously he's in. But that was frustrating for a lot of people, I'm sure. And from there, I mean, it was going to seem like it was going to be a Ty Gibbs versus SVG battle. I mean, SVG had controlled the race throughout most of it. Christopher Bell, after a shit weekend of practice and qualifying, he managed to get back up there and was running pretty well. Alex Bowman was up there. And really, the main issue was the caution that Hocevar brought out. I mean, they were in the middle of their last green flag pits cycle, and Ty was literally about to take his last stop, which would have reset everything and set up this battle with him and SVG. And he got screwed when Carson spun, and that just kind of changed the complexion of the race. I mean, yeah, we're not Ty Gibbs fans, but it would have been interesting. I would have been, not to say I wasn't entertained by the end of the race, because there were a lot of other battles going on, but and also, who knows? SVG might have saved enough it wouldn't have mattered if Ty was in second place. He might have still gotten the lead he had. Yeah. But it would have been more interesting regardless. So
I'll be perfectly honest. I kind of half watched this race between being in the studio and then coming home and trying to watch it yesterday. What was Ricky Stenhouse so pissed off about?
Well, Hocevar spun about 82 times in that race, and the last time he was a lap down.
So did Ricky.
Spun and took out Ricky in the process.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, and it was very clearly a mistake. Like, this wasn't, like Kansas or whatever. This was, Carson just fucked up. But he fucked up with the one person he couldn't have done that with. So.
Yeah. Again, I like Ricky, but him just threatening and not doing anything again, like, it's just like, come on, bro. Like, you're not going to jail for beating somebody's ass in Mexico, are you? Like, maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe it's. I'm not sure how that works.
I mean, unlike most NASCAR races, there was no security near either of those guys when they had their little moment. So the only person there was Josh Berry, who was just watching.
Yeah. And who wouldn't? Yeah.
Yeah.
That he purposely walked down to that car just to prop up on the fence and watch was everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was a good weekend. Not that I was anticipating it being a bad race. I think it was just more none of us really knew what to expect. And, I'm sure some people weren't excited with the 16-second lead by SVG, but I think overall the race was really fun. The atmosphere seemed pretty good from what everybody says. And yeah, I hope they come back. It's nothing's guaranteed at the moment because ticket sales didn't seem to be that great from everything that I heard.
Yeah.
Ticket prices were kind of high, and it didn't really bring out as much of a crowd as they wanted. I mean, the stadium was fairly full on Sunday, but there were definitely some empty grandstands and seats throughout the thing. So.
Yeah, it was clear they didn't bother selling some places at the track.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that happens at every racetrack, so you can't really blame the event too much. But yeah, I was expecting a little bit more out of that. But again, yeah, I guess we'll see if they decide to come back. I don't really care, to be perfectly honest. Like I said last week, it's another road race. And it was all right. Again, like kudos to the broadcast team. They were able to take something that it was exciting at times, but if I feel like if another broadcast partner had been handling that race and we're kind of constricted in the way that Fox is, and with the direction that, say, Fox or somebody else has, we might not be as excited as we are today about it. I mean,
the best battles all day were like 10th through 15th place, and Prime did a great job of showing that. Yeah. So. Also, I just want to shout out that move that Riley Herbst did when he spun.
Oh,
and
yes,
decided to turn around right in front of Stenhouse and almost got the shit T-boned out of his driver's side door.
That's another reason why I'm sure Stenhouse was pissed off, because he almost got taken the fuck out there. That was really bad. Riley was having a good day too. He was in the top 15 all day. So
yeah, he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
I read that after the race, Blaney asked Jeff Gluck he turned around and asked Jeff Gluck to check his white fire suit to see if he shit himself.
Yeah, that was where I was going next with this. So
a lot of drivers drinking the water when
SVG, and this is already the episode title. Loudly declaring in his post-race speech, I was leaking out of both holes. Yeah. I could not stop laughing when he said that. That was amazing, just like how candid he was with that. But yeah, aside from that, Blaney had his issues.
And then Noah Gragson was probably the most vocal offender.
Yes, Noah Gragson on Sunday morning tweeted out negative 125 odds of me shitting myself in the car today, and I have a white fire suit.
He was eating Imodium tablets like candy.
Yeah, he later clarified that he did not shit himself, but his stomach was hurting from all the Imodium. So, which out of all of them, I would guess that Gragson just got drunk and forgot about the ice thing or water or whatever. SVG,
he looked hungover.
Yeah, SVG. I listened to his interview on Dale Jr.'s podcast today. He thinks it's because he had a little bit of juice for breakfast on Saturday morning, and that was like the one thing he had that wasn't in a can or a bottle all weekend. He's like, that's the only thing I can think of that would have done it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's to be expected. Everybody knows don't drink the water in Mexico. And,
you got to stick to those bottled Coronas, folks.
Yeah.
I know Chastain was like altitude sick all weekend too, so I'm sure that didn't help anyone.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but I hadn't really heard many complaints from anybody about the altitude stuff, really.
Well, a lot of teams had started training their drivers for it. They had chambers set up where they could get used to the air pressure, and I mean, I forget where it was. Ricky Stenhouse. I was on Door Bumper Clear. He was talking about how he's done a bunch of running and shit up in the mountains, so he's already kind of used to being at an altitude above 10,000 feet. But I'm sure that if you have any sort of ailment or hangover, anywhere above a mile, it hits twice as hard. I can assure you that much. So I'm sure that probably factored in a little bit as well.
Yeah. We didn't get a ton of feedback from drivers and crew people about their experience in the city. I think a lot of them tended to stick to the hotel and the area right around their hotel. I know a bunch of reporters and stuff, they did some exploring, and from what everybody seemed to say, it was your standard city experience. Yes, there's shitty parts. Yes, there's good parts. We had Tab Boyd, spotter for Ricky Stenhouse. Seems like he got hustled for some money right outside of the hotel, and he had a tweet about that he had later deleted because, obviously the feedback from that was great.
Yeah, not great. Not great for Tab.
Go down to my local gas station and get hustled any day of the week.
But then, the big comments, and I wouldn't even say they're that big because they really weren't that bad, but Carson Hocevar and his Twitch stream, I think it was Friday night.
Well, he said all sorts of shit on that Twitch stream, which we'll get to.
Before he even hit the track or left his hotel, I mean, long story short, he complained about travel. He said the city was a shithole. A couple other things, but nothing really that bad. There weren't things you probably should have said, but at the same time, I don't think any of them were that bad. But that got some negative press, and just this afternoon, Spire announced they were fining him $50,000, which are going to go to 3 different Mexican charities, and you have to go through some sensitivity training type stuff. not to say that NASCAR necessarily would have fined him for that, but maybe this was Spire. It was either Spire getting out ahead of that or somebody at Gamebridge being pissed off. And
that's my theory. I think that's a corporate thing right there.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I was
just going to say that, yeah, you're only 22, but you also have a big boy job now and sponsors. And his sponsor this past weekend was a Mexican-based company. So you can't just go out there and say your country's a shithole and then show up to the racetrack on Sunday and they're footing the bill for you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Get off your little Twitch stream and.
I don't know. I think it's ridiculous he's getting fined at all. I mean, I will say I appreciate by his own team especially. Like, actually by anybody. Fuck that. Like he didn't say anything that was inflammatory. Like we were talking about this before the show.
The shithole.
Every city's a shit. I live in a shithole.
That's true. Well, we were talking about this before. I mean, I think a lot of this comes from the fact that so many people in the NASCAR bubble, whether you're a driver, crew member, or a fan, I think a lot of people are not well traveled. And when you go to a city like Mexico City, I mean, you're going to get a lot of negative feedback from those types of people without even setting foot there. And like Ashley said, when you have a Mexican sponsor in the car and you call the country a shithole, that's going to piss off somebody. Yeah. And
I can see
to be fair, also Carson has owned up to it, and he admitted he was wrong. He shouldn't have said that stuff. And I say that too, as mentioned the Twitch stream. I just started tuning in, and I think his Twitch stream is great. I think he's
great. Yeah.
It's incredibly candid and entertaining, and
says way too much.
Stop. Yeah, he definitely says way more than he should. So if you're looking for that type of information, like this past weekend. The stream I was on, he was talking about how Chicagoland is pretty much a done deal.
Chicagoland is back on the schedule, folks. You heard it from Carson.
So I hope he doesn't stop the streams. But you just got to be a little more careful with what you say. And again, this wasn't a Larson moment, but it wasn't a good moment either. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of ridiculous, and you want people to be honest. And one thing I will say is I do appreciate that he owned up to it by himself. It wasn't a PR person writing his apology. Like, I don't know if someone yelled at him or he just saw the feedback and was proactive about it. I don't know, whatever. If you think he fucked up, which again, like, he probably shouldn't have said that stuff. You're right, but I don't think taking $50,000 out of this kid's wallet is really. That's probably not even the worst thing that was said in the industry. But I guess maybe there's more coming. If what Freddie Kraft said on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's such a vague thing because, like, it could have something to do with the cars or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Other than Tab Boyd, like, nothing else. I didn't catch anything negative about the experience from really anybody.
And respectfully, like, if you have to have a National Guard escort from the border to the city to get your stuff there safe, that indicates some national security issues. That doesn't mean Mexico sucks. Like, I've been there. It's great. I like Mexico. And I think all those guys had a good experience. But, if I was doing exactly what a lot of those crews and drivers are doing, and it's very, like, cordoned off and you can't roam freely, it kind of, I don't know. That would kind of soil my experience as well. I think that's why the reporters are able to get around a little easier because no one knows who they are. They're kind of disconnected a little bit. And they probably traveled a little bit more too. But
I saw social media posts from like Chase and Bubba and Blaney out like having dinner and going through like local markets and like going to clubs at night. So
you can, yeah.
You can. It's just a choice, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, Mexico is cool. I don't care if they go back or not. It doesn't really.
I hope they go back.
It doesn't really serve anything for me as a race fan, but it wasn't a bad race, and it certainly put on a better show than some of the road courses we've had in the past few years. And if the people want it, then they should have a chance to see it. So I'm all for it if they go back, but if I won't lose any sleep if they don't either.
Yeah. And since we're on Sunday, and I know I watched a good portion of it. IndyCar was on prime time on Fox from Gateway, and it was a pretty entertaining race.
It was badass. It was a badass race.
This is definitely more Rob's speed as far as talking about it, but from what I saw, I enjoyed it.
Man, if IndyCar had a few more ovals on their schedule and they raced like this on them, they might be getting more than like 38 viewers a night because that shit was incredible. super hard racing throughout the entire night. Lap traffic not giving a fuck. A lot of draft breaking, a lot of aggressive moves. There was a badass battle with Pot O'Ward up at the front and Connor Daly for a while.
Yep.
Joseph Newgarden absolutely took flight after Louis Foster ran out of talent, slapped the wall and shipped it down the racetrack, and then Joseph had nowhere to go and crashed from the lead, and as they say, it was a total plane crash.
Which is funny because I turned it off to go like take a shower and I turned it right back on right as that was happening. But the crazy thing was they were doing a little like Joseph Newgarden, promo, those little videos they show 20, 30 seconds of highlights, and immediately cut from that to his car like scraping across the ground upside down.
And we were watching that out in the studio after the night wrapped up, and I was kind of like watching out of the corner of my eye. I turned around and opened a new beer, and then turned back around, and there's Joseph Newgarden laying in a pile on the ground. He was fine, amazingly.
Yeah.
But that wreck, as bad as it was, went just about as good as it could have gone. The car flipped and hit right at the attenuator and kind of just like scraped along the edge, and the halo or the windscreen took the rest of the impact. So good for him being alive after all that. And after it was all said and done, Kyle Kirkwood took the win. Great race, great crowd, lots of pyrotechnics, and apparently it was over 1 million people watching that broadcast, which you don't really talk about ratings all that much, but I do want to point something out about the NASCAR broadcast that wasn't in our notes that I had heard. I think it was 2.2 million viewers for the Cup race on Amazon Prime, and that was by far the most watched racing event of the weekend in the United States, even over Formula One on ESPN, or on ABC rather, and then IndyCar on Big Fox. So kudos to Prime for drawing that many people in. And apparently the demographic shift is very real. So that was 2 million younger viewers. So this Prime thing might have some legs to it, which I think we all knew that. But definitely cool to see.
It's already almost over.
One more weekend, yeah. We go back to TNT after Pocono, and it's some of the same crew, but they're going to have all the same restrictions as Fox or NBC would, and I guess we'll see just how much of the good things about the Prime broadcast are transferable back over to cable, and I'm hoping it's most of them. They should be able to show battles further back in the field on regular TV, so as long as they don't change that, I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, great IndyCar race. Kyle Kirkwood picking up his third win of the year. That brings your win count total for drivers to 2 drivers this year, because Alex Palou won the rest of them. I almost said Pato O'Ward, but he ain't won shit this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, great race. More ovals, please. That's all I ask. You might be noticing a theme coming out of me here over the past 2 years of this show, but yeah, a couple more ovals, and I'll be watching a lot more IndyCar.
Yeah.
I have 2 notes from this race. One is Will Power was on the pole, and then he had a flat tire and wrecked from second place.
Yep.
And they thought that it might have been that he ran over something that was blown onto the track from the massive pyrotechnics that happened. They were the biggest they've ever been.
I mean, that was a ridiculous amount of explosions.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the fence didn't start melting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big road right behind it, too. I'm sure it melted the windshield wipers on a few Hoovers back there.
Also, there was a moment where, how do you say it, Rob? DiFrancesco?
Devlin DiFrancesco, yeah.
Okay, well, he was running through the pits. Something had happened to him. And there was a cameraman chasing him, and DiFrancesco stopped all of a sudden, and the cameraman ran into the back of him and fell and ate shit and caught it all on camera. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, and kudos to Devlin's center of gravity for being as strong as it is. Those IndyCar drivers are athletes, and this is a perfect example of that, of him just accidentally linebackering a guy.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a great race. I wish, and it sounds like, it's probably the biggest crowd outside of Indy, I think, that they've had on Fox, so that's good, and to be at 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, that's not typically a time you see a race. So, yeah, I loved it. More of that. Again, please. Just do Gateway like 2 more times a year. They race Thompson in the Modified Tour like 33 times a year. So let's just bring Gateway back multiple times and I'll be happy.
Good luck.
Yeah.
moving on to the notes. So we bring up a lot of AI shit posting stuff on Facebook, and
Are we sure this is AI?
yes, I'm sure it's AI. There was a clip posted by an account called Racing Renegades, Earnhardt on Prime deleted scenes, and it is a wonderful shot of Jeff and Dale kissing.
Yeah.
I know Rob and myself and a handful of other people have definitely tried the last couple years to do some fun Mikey and Dale AI stuff, and none of them ever came out like this. Like, this is perfect. It looks pretty real.
It's incredible how far the technology has moved along since we started trying to get this thing to take flight. But I think this is as good as it gets.
That smooching was like scary good.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So
watch
maybe
it.
if you retype in Mikey and Dale into the thing now, it might do a better job.
Yeah, got to get whatever Weber Valley is using for AI. 'Cause
Yeah.
they have it dialed.
I like that it put a couple of Ricky Rudd's crew guys in the background too. That was a nice touch.
Some news from the inspiration of the show. Mike Harmon announced that they're going to be back in the Truck Series later this year. They haven't run the Truck Series since 2018, and they're going to have Dawson Cram in the cars this weekend at Pocono.
Very exciting.
Also, Patrick Emmerling is in the 07 for Pocono. That's
a Spire truck.
It's a Spire truck. Okay.
And definitely the best piece that Patrick Emmerling has had in the Xfinity Series. You know, he's owned Frankie Muniz's car before. I don't know if he's still an owner with Joey Gase anymore. I can't remember who's in that ownership group, but he's been around for a little while, and this is definitely his best shot and good equipment. So very excited to see what he does. Of course, he's a multi-time Modified Tour winner up here and always a threat to win, especially as of late. And I'm excited to see him on the big stage here. And speaking of Gase-related motorsports, this isn't in the notes, but that Frankie Muniz truck that just released, the Black Cat sponsorship, that
it's
thing
really good.
is beautiful.
Yeah, they'll get their TV time when he wrecks. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of on-track incidents, while thankfully we didn't have any dog murders at Mexico, unfortunately Lewis Hamilton in Montreal ran over a groundhog in the race.
No good for Aero.
Definitely no good for Aero, and as a vegan, I know Lewis was pretty upset by that after the fact, but I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, unfortunately, once in a while an animal gets killed on the racetrack. You know, I'm sure we've all hit animals in cars and stuff, and it's never fun, but
Sometimes it's Ty Dillon doing it. Sometimes it's 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton do it. Sometimes it's Chip Ganassi on a scooter. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was Devlin DeFrancesco's dog when that happened. So,
Oh,
yeah, poor guy just keeps getting
no. All
hit.
kinds of hits.
This isn't in the notes either, but there was more updates with the 2311 and Front Row lawsuit today. Really noting that I think they have to, something with the injunction, they have to refile to get the injunction overturned, but if it doesn't go through, they're going to lose their charters within 7 days of the court hearing. So I guess we'll know next week how that's all going to pan out. So that's kind of nerve-wracking for those teams. So we'll see what happens there.
For sure. How did Ryan Truex do, by the way? We didn't talk about him filling in for Denny.
He spun like 3 times.
He had a terrible day.
I saw he was like 89th on the board in practice.
He was back there with Catherine Legg,
Oh.
who got trapped in SVG's burnout.
Is that true?
He had like just lapped her again, and he started doing his burnout, and she was just like, well, I can't go anywhere now. She just kind of pulled over. And then honestly, by the time he went to the stadium and did his full burnout and like climbed out of the car and stood on it, 4th place Alex Bowman was just passing him to come finish his lap. So
Yeah, it was an ass whooping.
yeah.
We mentioned last week on the show that West Virginia Motor Speedway has been bought and is being reconfigured, and True Love drove by the track. So what did you see?
I saw a bunch of dirt.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Yep. We left West Virginia on Thursday and pulled off on the side of the highway to check it out. And they had just started working on it that Monday, so they're just moving some dirt around. You could kind of see where they're trying to get the new, smaller track going in the middle.
Yeah.
And then they were like, it looked like they were moving dirt from like the old track over to like help with the new banking. But yeah, lots of heavy machinery moving and dump trucks full of dirt, and we're getting a move on it.
Love to see it.
Yep.
Matt Tiff's been posting pretty regular updates almost every day with Mansfield. I know they're pulling out all the old concrete now and getting the, grandstands cleaned up and all the building facilities turned back on and all that shit. So stuff's happening there. So good to see. And let's see. What is this final note about the Applebee's discount? I know what this is. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Well, my friend John lives in Pennsylvania, and he is one of Andy Newsom's best friends. So I've been to lots of races with John, and he told me that this past weekend, Andy Newsom had driven up to Pennsylvania to shoot at Selinsgrove Speedway, and it got rained out. But if there's a rain out at Selinsgrove, then the local Applebee's offers people 10% off their bill and half-priced apps. So,
Wow.
thanks, Applebee's.
I'm standing right now with my hat over my heart. That's America, baby, right there. That's fucking awesome. Hope corporate doesn't find out about that, but that's awesome.
So they went and took advantage of it.
Guess I'm going to Selinsgrove on a rainy weekend.
Cool. So now it's a Dart for the Week time, and let's see here. So I guess this is really just Matt Weaver responding to one person. So
It is, yeah.
Obviously we talked about how there was a plane issue on Friday with the engine blowing up and whatnot, and some dumbass, Great Luck Byron, he's a William Byron fan, so that's good. He responds to one of Matt's tweets, "This is a non-story. Do you report on every mechanical issue teams face?" Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
Like-
a NASCAR plane blew up and almost went off the runway. That's a story right there, pal.
Yeah, that plane, I read that it was already up to like 180 miles per hour, and the nose was just starting to lift when the engine blew out. So
God damn it.
it was almost real fucking bad.
Twitter is just filled with the worst people, like just the stupidest fucking people. And like, as I have friends on there, and I sell stuff on there. Like, it has just gotten so bad the last few years that I really need to. I did my best to not engage with too many dumbasses this weekend. I didn't really say anything or get into it at anybody, but it was hard not to because there was so much stupid shit being said. By
I was
people.
actually going to say that maybe I just didn't spend much time on my phone. I was actually pretty shocked at how even-tempered most of the internet was. I mean, there's what you'd expect, but I thought it'd be way worse than it
You
was.
must have not have been in the trenches.
I guess not.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
You got to go into the replies. That's where.
Oh yeah. No, my Twitter plane took off this weekend that I flew over with the top of all the trash on the ground.
Yeah, it was the true shithole this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sentence to you, Mr. Byron fan. Let's see here. Let's see. It's going to be that William Byron is going to lose his Liberty sponsorship over some weird sex stuff at the university. And they're going to give Carson Hocevar his ride instead. That's what I'm going to give you.
I was going to say you have to shit in a noggin boss and then wear it for an entire race.
Or you just have to take a sip out of Noah Gragson's water bottle. How about that? Your choice.
All right, well, with that, now it's time for the septic tank, and Rob was actually in the septic tank this weekend.
I was, yeah. So, like I said, I was up in Salem, Massachusetts at the studio all weekend doing some work, getting ready for the Charlie Marie and These Wild Plains tour coming up. I would say tickets are going fast and come out and see us, but none of you fuckers live in Finland or Sweden, so it's not even worth mentioning. But I will be over there. Maybe I'll see some, fucking snowmobile racing or something. I don't know. It's still the summer, so that's not going to happen, but maybe a rally? I don't know. I'm going to try and figure something out while I'm over there. But anyway, there's a racetrack about 50 minutes north of there. Literally shares a road with the New England Dragway. course, that's where the New England Nationals happened with NHRA. And it's called Star Speedway. I've never had a chance to go. I've gone to Lee Speedway, which is about 10 minutes up the road. I've always had a good time there, but never to Star. And I took a few of the guys from the band. Ben and I drove up. And then our bass player, Steve, his kid really loves cars and all things race cars. In fact, to the point where he's made like little flags that he likes to wave. He's going to be one of those kids eventually. But he loves race cars, and when he found out that we were going to a racetrack, he insisted on coming along. And so we took the family up there. And there's not many things I love more than taking my friends' kids to the racetrack and seeing their reaction. I haven't really seen a negative one yet, and I certainly didn't see one this weekend. This kid fucking absolutely loved it. But anyway, we're up to Star. 350 Super Modifieds were there. That's the first race car that little kid ever got to see in person, which is about as loud and intense as it gets. His eyes were about as big as dinner plates when they went by. But yeah, it was awesome having the whole family up there. Star is a great little facility, little quarter-mile racetrack. There's not a bad seat in the house because there couldn't be because it's so small. And they haul the mail around this place. Mostly like just a local kind of show, a lot of street stocks, a lot of little grocery getters, that kind of thing, bangers, and of course the 350 Supers. And let's see here. Yeah, it's just a perfect little racetrack, and it's always just a little too far for me to get to from Worcester. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from here. But from up there, if I lived in Salem or on the North Shore, I'd be up there all the time. It's still 1991 there, which is amazing. Everything about it, from the concessions prices to the beer garden prices to the people there, it has not changed, and I hope it never does change because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Apparently on the way up, I wasn't in the car for this because I was riding with Ben, but Julian, Steve's kid, kept talking about how he wanted a hot dog because he's never had a hot dog before.
What?
I know.
Kind of parenting?
Yeah. It's Blue State. Elizabeth Warren voting people. So hot dogs don't enter the equation very often,
Chase
I guess.
Briscoe's never had a hot dog either, so I mean.
Well, he's a freak.
He's just a freak of nature.
But yeah, talked about it the whole way up there. And so I was like, you know what? First day at the racetrack, it's going to be your first hot dog, too. So they got him a hot dog, and as soon as that thing came out, and he kind of realized what it actually was, he wanted nothing to do with it. So Steve had 2 hot dogs. They stayed for about an hour, and then Ben and I stuck around for the rest of the features. The loudest track PA I've ever experienced in my life. You could hear it over the Supers, which was crazy. We had a decibel meter with us, and the PA was at 125, which is ridiculously loud. But it was nice to be able to hear the tannoy over the car, or the cars. So that was fun. During the features, they do a thing over in the beer garden where a couple times through the night they'll do what's called a yellow light special. Usually if there's a caution, I think that's probably where it came from, but at random times in the night they'll throw a yellow light special where beers are 2 for $7, which I wholly took part in. I think I spent about at least $21 on beer, so I do the math. But yeah, it was a great night. The super feature, I've talked about super modifieds not really putting on all that great at racing sometimes. That's kind of I won't say it's a DARF opinion necessarily, but in my experience, going to big tracks like Thompson, that's kind of how it is. They get strung out and they don't really race all that hard, but Star is so small that there's no place for these guys to go, and they are super racy. In fact, the winner of the race, who was Jeffrey Battle, who wins just about everything up here, he came through the field from 12th place to win. Bobby Timmons, host of the Black Flag podcast, came in second after carving his way from 11th. It was a fuck of a show. It was so good. And easily the best super race I've ever seen. And I definitely want to go check them out at Star more often. The track announcer at this place was great, too. He would just talking shit all night. Like, there was this one kid in the street stock feature, or maybe it wasn't street stocks, it was like some banger division, who was a total wrecking ball. And anytime this kid would try and pass somebody, this announcer, this is what he sounded like. He was like, here comes car 56. He's going to do that thing again. He's going to make that guy mad. That's not how you do it. Here he comes, the snowplow and the 56. And that became his nickname. Here comes Snowplow. They're going to send him to the back of the field for that one. And anytime they would penalize someone, they would play this, the party horn. There, just so loud on the speakers. It's like, you know what that sound means? It means someone's in trouble.
It sounds amazing.
It really is. Like, I can't express how awesome Star is.
A true New England experience, it sounds like.
Yeah, and honestly, like, one of the best short tracks I've ever been to as far as quality of racing. Like, every division put on a show. Even, like, the Crown Vics were badass. The street stock race was awesome. Shout out to Charging Charlie Baldwin for getting penalized and then coming all the way from the back to win the feature. That was a hell of a show, too. And one last little shout out to the concession stand. Ben got up for a second while I was drinking my row of beers I had in front of me from the concession stand for the Yellow Light Special. And I look over, and he's kind of standing there just with this giant basket of chicken tenders. And I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of chicken. Like, this fucker must have spent like $30 on that. And then I kind of waved him over, and he was like, how much was that? He was like, dude, it was $6 for all of these. And I was like, $6? Are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I haven't eaten anything but a donut today. I got to get tenders right now. And so, like, I walked over there, and they were counting the money on the counter. It looked like they were done. I was like, oh, shit, I got to convince Ben to take me to Taco Bell or something on the way out of here. But then I asked, like, hey, you guys still open? And she's like, yeah, sweetie, what do you want? I was like, let's take a basket of chicken tenders. She's like, okay. She looks at the wall at this list. She's like, all right, chicken tenders, basket, half off. That'll be $4. I was like, excuse me? So I handed her a crisp $5 bill and received the same. There were at least 7 tenders in there. I couldn't tell you how many. They just kept coming.
Damn.
So, yeah. I mean, a lot of racetracks will do that. They do half-price concessions towards the end of the night just to clear it out. So I guess I caught it just at the right time, but they definitely hadn't been sitting out. They were hot and fresh, straight out of the old fryolator, and I left Star Speedway very happy. So yeah, definitely my favorite racetrack around here now. I want to go see some more shows there. It was a big weekend of racing up there. The Pass Tour was there, and a couple other divisions on Sunday, and they had a show on Friday as well. And I think they trade off weekends with Lee since they're so close. But I'm definitely going to make an effort to go to Star more often and bring the whole crew from up there out there, because it was super cheap, super fun, great racing, and about as much fun as you can have at a short track. And it was only like $15 to get in too, that's again 90s pricing. So yeah, so high marks for Star. Make sure if you're ever in New England and they happen to be running, it's well worth your evening. My favorite thing to do, if they're running the same night as NHRA, I think both Lee and Star run that weekend. If you go to the New England Nationals, they run a big show directly after that at both Lee and Star on Friday and Saturday nights after NHRA. So if you can plan it out, that's about as good as it gets. But there was a shit ton of racing this weekend outside of that, despite the rain. Unfortunately, Lucas Oil did get rained out, but Twitter star Racing Jason kept us all entertained by just getting blackout drunk and singing classic country to everybody for hours. And in one of my group threads, it was just a never-ending stream of watching this man descend into a hangover, talking about trying to text the girl from work, just all sorts of shit that just no business on the internet. My favorite performance of the night was a rendition of Doug Supernaw's Reno, which was dedicated to the girl from work.
Oh, no. So.
And
you got like a memo from human resources.
HR is in charge. Wherever he works, if there's an HR department, he probably heard about it on Monday morning. But shout out to Speedway Screens, of course, your source for all sorts of awesome racing gear. I know for a fact that you've sold Racing Jason a Jeep Van Wormer shirt before, and he left you a review. So,
he did, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, is he a good guy? I don't know, but you have.
I don't know either.
You have some of his money, so.
Yes.
So thanks for the help. There was a shit ton of late model racing. Of course, Hell Tour is well in progress right now. Every single night of the week, you're getting some big time super late model action. The only problem is that these features haven't been starting till like 11:30, midnight, because they've been running so many goddamn divisions at all these races, to the point to where Nick Hoffman went on Twitter and was talking about it. He even gave a nice little shout out to his sponsor. I love when guys are able to sort of rope in a sponsor shout out into when they're running their mouths. And he says, if you were planning on watching Summer Nationals tonight, stop by the nearest gas station and grab a NOS energy drink so you can stay awake long enough to see the features. Call your boss and tell him you may be late tomorrow because you were watching the Hell Tour. He will understand. And that wasn't the only piece of criticism. I know I was complaining about it and a lot of other people were. But one of the organizers for Hell Tour, no, I just opened the Race and Jason video. We don't want that. He posted this long thing, I suppose, on Facebook about why they do this. It is a novel. There's a lot to it. And he kind of goes through some of the math of how these races work and why they have so many support divisions, and basically saying they float the cost of these big events by from pit passes and entry into the pits and entry fees and all that. So the more divisions you have, the more money you can rack up to put on these big shows. He also goes on to talk about streaming and the negative side of it, which was kind of interesting. You know, anytime you hear someone complaining about streaming ruining short track racing, comes off as a bit of a boomer rant to me. But it is a little bit of the Wild West in that world, and not everybody pays as well or pays at all to have the show on streaming. Sometimes you pay to have it broadcast, and there's different politics involved there. So streaming doesn't always help, and especially if it's going to be a late night. If I had to drive 2 hours to go to a racetrack, and I could just watch it on my TV on Dirt Vision, I would probably be doing that rather than crawling home at 3 a.m. So interesting analysis there. I get it, but it doesn't change the fact that that's too fucking late for a Tuesday night. Sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, we'll go through the winners for Hell Tours. There's a shit ton of them. Brownstown, Billy Moyer picked up a win. How about that? Still out there. I don't know how old he is now, but he's been around longer than I have. That's for sure. Or his racing career has been. He picked up a win at Brownstown. Jason Fager won Kankakee. Drake Troutman picked up the win at Peoria. Tri-City got rained out. They'll be doing that on the 25th. At Falls, Brian Shirley picked up the win. Jason Fager won again at Sycamore. Drake Troutman won again at Wilmot. And that's pretty much all we got up until now. There's a race happening right now, but I don't know how that one shook out, so we'll talk about it next week. But as of the time of me taking these notes down, Jason Fager was on top of the points. Dennis Erb Jr. is in second, followed by Drake Troutman, Jacob Joyner, and Billy Moyer in the top five. They're going to be at Davenport, Quincy, Lee County, Peevely, Lincoln, and Springfield coming up. So that's why they call it Hell Tours, because it's non-fucking stop. And I know I talk about Kyle Armstrong and the Simpson Trail all the time, but he's following this thing around, and he's going to be at all of these places coming up for the next week, and I recommend you go say what's up to him and my good buddy Justin. They're out there slinging all the helmets and shit to keep your little noggins safe, so you don't end up like Joseph Newgarden scraping along the pavement. Ohio Speed Week is happening right now, too. That's in progress. There's a bunch of racing happening, but they were at Attica a few nights ago, and I got to be honest, I don't really know what else happened in this race other than this national anthem deal.
Doesn't matter.
Somebody... So I've heard the Jimi Hendrix version of the national anthem at a racetrack before, and there's two versions of it. There's the one we all know from, like, car commercials and shit, and then there's the extended, like, actual version that's just... a lot of noise for a long time. And this is the one they chose at Attica. And just the shot of all the safety workers in the infield just standing there stoically while Jimi Hendrix lights his shit on fire, essentially. One guy's like trying not to double over laughing. We're definitely going to post this on the Instagram post. It's amazing. And I can't remember if that's how the track actually ends or if they faded it out. And they faded it, and there's just silence from the PA. And you can hear the fans just who are so upset about this.
So pissed.
This one guy's like, play it right! Play it right!
Attica is the track where I was told that Ernie Irvan died, so I was not at all surprised to see that response from the crowd.
And the clip we have closes out with the guy in the booth saying, we didn't pick it.
I didn't pick that. There's someone screaming, that's bullshit. It had me in tears.
Yeah, that's a long song too, and they let that one go pretty far.
They're like, surely the real anthem will kick in sometime.
Nope. It never did. So yeah, a lot of angry people at Attica. And I don't know who won. I'm sorry, but that was great.
Whoever accidentally played that one.
Yeah, they were the true winner of the night, and Jimi Hendrix, rest in peace, I guess. But I did watch the high limit race, the Eagle Nationals at Eagle Raceway. Buddy Kofoid won that one, and Corey Day became very well acquainted with the billboards on the backstretch when he jumped the cushion and completely flipped over the fence into them. He was fine. But more Corey Day wrecking his cars or winning, which brings us to Knoxville, where the World of Outlaws were at. The Chevy Dealers, I forget what it was called, something with Chevy Dealers. But it's the first race of the year where the World of Outlaws go and check out Knoxville, kind of getting warmed up for the show. It sounded like Johnny Gibson wouldn't allow the track announcer, Tony Bokoven, to use the nice microphones because Johnny was coming through nice and clear as he does, and it sounded like Tony was calling in from jail. When they would trade off heat races. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's because Tony referenced high limit on the World of Outlaws broadcast, which is a big no-no.
Oops.
But yeah, Brian Brown probably had the biggest hit of the night. He flipped pretty bad and got clocked pretty good, and he definitely was slumped over in the car once the car settled. He got out under his own power, but I think he definitely rang his bell, and he's probably got his eyes taped open like Ricky Rudd that one time. But that was a hard hit. David Gravel cut through the field and picked up the win on Friday night. And then Corey Day redeemed himself by winning on Saturday night. Good show. Knoxville's always fun. The Nationals is the biggest event in sprint car racing for a reason. And we saw some pretty fine examples of what we can expect coming up here in August on Friday and Saturday night. Speaking of sprint car racing, I was going to say James McDougall. That's not who it is. James McFadden, the other J-Mac, the Australian one. Big weekend for Australians in motorsports. J-Mac finally returned to the U.S., and he's running on the NARC Tour, which is a California 410 series, West Coast 410 series. He picked up 4 wins this weekend out of the 5 races he ran in the Tarleton car. Doing a great job out there, and I'm a big J-Mac fan, and I know a lot of our friends are as well. He also does shoeies when he wins. Did SVG do one? Did he drink beer out of a shoe?
He kicked that rugby ball way out in the stadium.
His tummy was probably hurting a little too much to drink beer, but I'm sure J-Mac didn't have that problem out in California. Well, I don't know. Some of those pipes are rusty out there, so who knows?
So SVG did have a margarita on TV after the race.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Which had ice in it, which I thought was a questionable choice.
Yeah, well, you can't get sick twice, right?
Well.
I guess we'll find out. Also, some Tyler Walker news. Of course, he ran his first race in many years a couple weekends ago, running a 360 out in California. I think it was at Tulare. He's picked up a ride for PA Speed Week with Rutherford Motorsports. That's pretty badass. Again, Tyler was a pretty renowned sprint car driver. He's won the King's Royal. He was pretty big time, had some truck starts, then had some personal issues, got into drugs, that sort of thing, and disappeared from the racing world for a long time, and just now dipping his toe back in the water. And I guess his performance out on the West Coast warranted someone giving him another shot here on a pretty big stage, and PA Speed Week is certainly one of those. So I'm glad to see him back. Curious to see how he'll do in an actual 410, because the last show he ran, he was running a 360 against a bunch of 410s, and there's only so much you can do with that. So to see him in some pretty decent equipment running that schedule is going to be badass. So good for you, Tyler. I'm happy to see a nice redemption story come to fruition. Up here in New England, Mike Christopher won at Stafford. That was a pretty cool race to watch. John Puello had it pretty much wrapped up, but of course some late cautions. Kind of turned into a truck race at the end of it, and Mikey was able to get around him at the end of the race. Big Mike Christopher fan, so that was cool. And then let's see here. Josh Richards is just tested the Rocket 1 at Sharon Speedway. Of course, that's Mark Richards' son, and also known as Kid Rocket. Pretty renowned late model driver from back in the day, retired a few years back, and has been rumored to be trying to get back behind the wheel, and sounds like we're definitely moving in that direction, because I guess the test went okay. I haven't heard much about it, but definitely cool to see Josh back behind the wheel of a late model, and hopefully we get to see him run a few races. Hopefully it doesn't unseat Brandon Shepard at some point. I don't think it would, but there can only be one Rocket 1, so maybe they'll put Brandon in the Rocket 1.5. I don't know how it works, but I guess we'll see. But welcome back, Josh Richards. Hopefully I get to see him race this year. A lot more racing coming up this weekend. Ohio Speed Week rolls on. They're at Eldora right now. In fact, I believe Dason Persley just picked up the 410 win. But I don't quote me on that one. USAC's got the Eastern Storm Series going on right now. They're at Bridgeport, Big Diamond, Williams Grove, Port Royal on the action track coming up. Lucas Oil late models make their return to Lernerville for the Firecracker 100. They'll be there for 3 nights. World of Outlaw late models are at Peevely and Independence. The World of Outlaw 410s are going to be at Houston's for 3 nights for the High Bank Nationals. That's always a fun, or High Bank Hustle, excuse me. That's always a fun show. And then the NARC Series, where James McFadden has been running, they have a huge event at Skagit. $100,000 to win. So there's a few high limit guys that are going to be out there, but not too many of the major names, since they're all going to be occupied at either Houston's, or they'll be occupied at Houston since high limit is not racing right now. Or by Ohio Speed Week. So there's going to be some guys who you wouldn't normally see going for $100,000 and going for $100,000. That's going to be a good show. That's on Saturday night on Flow Racing. And that's pretty much all I got. Again, we already talked about West Virginia Motor Speedway coming back from the dead, which is good news. You need to drive by there every week and give us an update, True Love. Think you can swing that for us?
So. This is too far.
Well,
I'll call Tyler Carpenter.
Yeah, give him a call. He'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's the septic tank this week. And I think I might be going to Thompson tonight, if you're listening to this on release day.
I was like, what, tonight?
Yeah, no, not Tuesday night, but Wednesday night. There's an open modified show there. It's supposed to rain, but we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't, I'll be sitting over in turn 4 and enjoying a nice little fireball nip from the beer stand. So come say what's up if you're there. And we're going to go ahead and flush this thing down and get into the best commercial we've ever seen on the Video of the Week segment.
My favorite part of the septic tank is hearing all the silly little speedway names.
You like those?
It's so silly.
Some of them do sound made up.
100%.
Like Raceway 81. Yeah, they're good.
I think what is it? Kankakee?
Kankakee, yeah.
Kankakee. It's my favorite one this week.
Yeah, that's a town name.
Yeah, I know Kankakee. There used to be a skate park in Kankakee, so that's like burned in my brain from being a teenager from bike videos. So
It's also referenced in a Chris Knight song.
Okay.
For all you singer-songwriter fans out there.
Also, NARC is a terrible series name.
Yeah, it's not the best.
all right, so we got 2 videos of the week this week. We're gonna start off with the monster truck one though first. So this was the USHRA. I don't know what to call them. Motorsports.
Sorry, your voice levels sound real low.
Let's see, is this better?
There we
better?
go.
Okay, sorry, I fucked with my microphone. So yeah, the first video is the 1989 USHRA Nationals from Houston. Pretty much just watched the end of this because I really wanted to focus on the monster truck stuff, but there was a little bit of polling stuff that was in the video as well. We saw runs from Art Arfons in the Green Monster, the Hillbilly Puller Truck, the Oklahoman who broke an axle on his run. Donna Webb in the Sudden Impact truck won the event while the Hillbilly truck won the title. We got an interview with Red Grogan, who drove the Hillbilly truck, and he definitely lived up the name of his truck for sure.
You know, more appropriate person.
Way too close to his face.
And we saw a pull from the Rambunctious 2 tractor, which I think one of the other videos we watched had the first one where the driver was just literally perched on top of the front wheels, but with the engines behind him. This was the second tractor that, you know, was more traditional setup, but the kid driving at the time was only 16 years old, which was pretty wild. Then this was a big Ford-sponsored event, and a bunch of the local Ford dealers brought a bunch of Ford Rangers out, and they were giving away a Ranger, and they had like 23 people lined up to try a key to see which one started the truck. Ken Brew, the announcer, managed to be creepy. They were talking about how pretty the trucks were or something, and then like speaking of pretty, and they cut to like this one younger girl that was in line. We saw a wild run from the Bud Boss puller, which this was like kind of a specialty modified tractor that was based off of a Kenworth. And I've never seen this before, and as Mike Galloway himself said, we'll probably never see this again. The thing did a full pull and then wrapped around and pulled the entire thing all the way around the track like in a circle. I've never seen that in my life. But that was clearly like a demo thing. He was not actually pulling all the weight on the tractor.
There's a lot of great beer branding all through this.
Yes, the Bud Boss. I mean, a lot of the old pulling sleds back in the '80s, like they would have Budweiser cans as the weights, and the Bud truck itself, it had big inflatable beer cans on it, and that truck actually was around up until last year when the owner of the truck, I forget who owned it at the time. I don't know if it was the same guy, but he had a fire and destroyed the entire garage and lost the truck in the fire. So there was only one commercial in this, and this was for the Monsters of Rock and Roar VHS tape, which this was one of many USHRA tapes that came out in the 80s. We see
before we get too far here, I just want to one note I had about the guy who won the truck. Never been a more appropriate man to win a Ford truck.
Yeah, I had him in the older farmer looking guy who had a huge gap in his teeth. And a delayed reaction to starting the truck, but that was pretty funny. Also, too, I noticed that this truck, it seemed like the back tires were smaller than the fronts. Again, this is my insane, autistic brain, like noticing these little things. But it seemed like the rear tires were smaller. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
He was a full-blown pawpaw.
100%.
Yes, absolutely. And then finally we get to the monster truck and tank portion. So the reason why I picked this video and why it's significant is, first off, Bigfoot just celebrated its 50th anniversary. They had a big event in St. Louis at the shop. Thousands of people showed up. The owners of Bigfoot 2 and 3 and the tank and the shuttle and the Ranger, like Bigfoot over the years sold off a lot of their trucks, a lot of their older ones that like weren't really up to date technologically and whatnot, and a lot of them went into disrepair, but also a lot of them ended up getting restored, and it's the first time in decades that some of these trucks were back at the Bigfoot shop, so that was pretty cool to see. But there were only 4 trucks in this event. It was Bigfoot, Barefoot, Taurus, and the Texas Stomper. And again, the reason why I picked this video is because it's a very brief look into the future of monster truck racing. In this video, you see the Barefoot Racer, which this was like Fred Schaefer's second generation truck. It wasn't quite as technologically advanced as the Bigfoot and Taurus trucks on this show, but it was much better than his previous ones. Was pretty fast. His next truck was a monster. That thing won so many races. It set speed records. It was insane. But this was like Fred's second truck. Yeah, the Taurus truck, which this was technically the third Taurus, but it was one of the lightest trucks ever built at the time. It had a coilover suspension system, which nobody else was really running at the time. It was incredibly fast and light. This truck is actually on display at the Monster Truck Hall of Fame in Indiana, if you want to go check it out. Cool. That was restored by Michael Vaughters of Black Stallion fame.
Where in Indiana is that?
It's outside Fort Wayne.
Okay.
So it's about 3 hours from me. I haven't been to the new location, but I went to the old one a handful of times, and I've just been meaning to get back out there. But he restored one of the Barefoot Racers. He restored Equalizer and a handful of other trucks. He does a lot of really cool stuff. And it also shows Bigfoot 8. Now, the Bigfoot in this video, it looks similar to the other Bigfoot trucks that were running at the time, but this was a truck that really changed monster truck racing. This was the first ever full-on, tube chassis frame that was built like a trophy truck, built like a stock car. It was incredibly light, had very technologically advanced suspension, steering, all that stuff. This was the early iteration of the truck. Like Bigfoot 8 debuted in 1989, and it had a similar paint scheme, and even at one point ran a light bar and a body of the other trucks. And in 1990, it debuted on the TNT series with the racer stripes, like the yellow and orange stripes that the trucks today still run. And that's when, we'll get to that in the coming months, but that truck really, really changed racing for the better, but they were so technologically advanced that truck ended up getting banned because it was too fast.
Classic.
But this show here, you only see 4 trucks, and it's a battle of probably the 2 most technologically advanced trucks at the time. And it also shows you where Bigfoot was because, we'll get to it in the runs, but even though the truck was very, very advanced, it still was not. It took a good year to really dial in some of the little flaws with the truck, and we see that in the races. So the first run, we see Barefoot versus Taurus. And again, this is the super lightweight Taurus. It was only 9,500 pounds, which a lot of the monster trucks at that point were anywhere from 12 to 20,000 pounds. So huge weight advantage. The truck was sponsored by...
Huge, gigantic foam neck brace on one of those drivers.
Yeah, that was probably Jack Willman and Andy Brass, too. I mean, that's kind of what... the safety was not really there yet.
Yeah, the helmet's not really on his head. It's kind of perched.
No. I mean, at this point, hell, some of the drivers weren't even using 5-point harnesses yet, and they were running kidney belts because their internal organs would take such a jolt jumping these big fucking trucks with really shitty suspensions.
It reminded me of that character that Ernest used to have, with the grandma with the neck brace.
Yes, I know exactly the one you're talking about. But yeah, so in this first run, as fast as Barefoot was, you see it still wasn't as fast as Taurus. I also didn't mention Taurus was sponsored by Honeycomb at the time, which you saw on the truck. It had Honeycomb wheel covers, and it was actually in a Honeycomb ad campaign. So, yeah, there were Honeycomb monster truck commercials at this time. As fast as Barefoot was, it was no match for Taurus, who took the win pretty easily. Really at the turn, I think they were both even going up to the turn, but then Taurus took it after that. The next run is Bigfoot versus Texas Stomper. And again, I already talked about how advanced this truck was at the time, whereas Texas Stomper was really still the first generation of monster trucks, like big heavy leaf spring thing that wasn't very fast. Really, Texas Stomper's only claim to fame was, I forget what video it was in, but it ran over a trailer, like a trailer home in a video. You can find that clip out there somewhere. Texas Stomper actually still exists. Somebody in Texas still owns it. It's beat to shit, but it's still out there. So we get the finals, and it's Barefoot versus Taurus, and my cat is attacking.
Cat likes this one.
Yeah, the cat's loving it. I don't know what the hell Mike Galloway was on, because he definitely should have known Andy Brass's name, but he kept calling him Andy Bass, which was very funny to me, because at this point Andy was already an established Bigfoot driver. And here's where we see the bugs still apparent. Bigfoot gets an early lead. It was still faster than Taurus, but he rolls the truck in the turn. 1990, Bigfoot was banned for a good portion of the TNT season, but it still ran a bunch of races. But even as fast as it was, it had a lot of steering issues. That was the one thing. The steering and suspension was... It took him a while to dial it in, and we saw that on display here when he rolled the truck. Because it was an all, tubing chassis frame and all fiberglass body, it didn't really do much damage to the truck, and it was a pretty, in the grand scheme of monster truck crashes, it was a pretty easy one. So you saw when they rolled the truck back over, there was hardly anything wrong with it. But yeah, Taurus took the victory, and this ended up leading to a showdown later on with the tank winner. There were a handful of tanks at this show, well, actually only 3. The Ramtrax truck, Full Metal Jacket, and then Bigfoot Fast Tracks. Full Metal Jacket and Bigfoot Fast Tracks were almost the same tractor. I think one just ran Chevy motors, and the other one, obviously, Bigfoot ran Fords. I have seen some runs of Full Metal Jacket at smaller shows, and that dude did not give a fuck. Those tanks weigh like 30,000 pounds and have no suspension, but he drove that thing. He would fly that fucker over cars, and I don't know how he still has a spine after driving the thing, but
probably doesn't. It's probably a foot shorter.
Yeah, probably. the first run, Ram Tracks versus Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket was much faster much faster tank, but because those treads don't really have a ton of traction, he ended up spinning out once they got around the turn and went from dirt to the concrete floor. Ram Tracks got the victory. I don't know if they just gave the Bigfoot truck or tank a bye run or whatever, but it led to the finals between Fast Tracks and Ram Tracks, and the Bigfoot easily took the victory. And this also led to Bigfoot Fast Tracks versus Taurus. As fast as the Bigfoot tank was, it was still no match for a monster truck that weighed half as much, and Taurus took the victory. So yeah, this was really just a nice little time capsule that was able to allow me to talk about the technological advancements of these trucks before our next video, where they'll kind of be a bit more on display. So what did you guys think?
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, each week we do this, it starts to resemble modern monster trucks a little bit more and a little bit more. It's kind of neat to see the evolution. And I'll be honest, I'm completely ignorant to the tanks.
They were very short-lived. I mean, they were definitely, you can call monster trucks a fad, but they've been around for 50 years now. But the tanks especially were very much a fad.
Yeah, I mean,
I forget who built the first one, but it was kind of a deal where there was a lot of military surplus shit around, and people were able to source the tanks pretty easily, and then you just put a body on it. And but they're also so heavy and tough to transport, and they weren't nearly as as cool as they weren't nearly as entertaining to watch as the trucks. So their time in the spotlight, by 91, nobody was bringing those to any shows. So.
Yeah.
When they had that Bigfoot tank race Taurus, I was like, what? What are we doing?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It's a run what you brung show right there.
Yeah. I mean, this was definitely, the entire show is out there on YouTube, and there's a lot of other stuff. There's a couple different stunts that they do, and a lot more tractor pulling, and I really just wanted to see the monster truck shit, so that's why I picked this one. But
nice. Yeah, it was super cool. By the way, the Monster Truck Museum in Fort Wayne is only an hour and 20 minutes away from Eldora. So I think if we're all down there for the World 100, maybe we should take a little pilgrimage up north.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't been there in a few years, and I haven't been to the new location, so I'm always down for that for sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious, and it's not that far of a drive, and there's not much to do around there. So
yeah, they have a lot of trucks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to see. But you were gonna say something, True Love? Or no?
I don't know. I got distracted by the Monster Truck Museum in the middle of fucking nowhere. But yes, the video, I mean, I enjoyed it as a kid, watching monster trucks. I was just like, cool trucks doing cool things, but to watch it back and have you kind of explain the progression of it is interesting. So
that's what I'm here for. I'm here to educate
for the facts. Yeah.
All right, and now time for the second video, and again, this is obviously a much shorter one because it's only a 30-second commercial, but when I saw this and, realized it was, hold on, my cat is, knock it off!
Really wants the Little Debbie cake right now.
Yeah, he knows what you're watching.
Yeah, when I realized this commercial was left out of that compilation we watched a few weeks ago, my mind was blown, because I don't know how you could leave this out. It's one of the most ridiculous racing commercials I've ever seen. This is a Little Debbie commercial starring Ken Schrader, and the premise is it's a kid going into a convenience store. He pulls up to the convenience store, and you can hear he's got the race is about to start in his car. He walks into the store, and you see what looks like a Ken Schrader stand-up next to the Little Debbie cakes. But right before the shot cuts, you see Ken Schrader blink. And it's like, okay. And then the kid's looking at snack cakes, and he looks over and he's like, are you Ken Schrader? And then Ken kind of turns a little bit, and he's got a donut in his mouth, and he kind of just mumbles like, maybe. And and then the kid goes, well, who's driving the car? And then they cut to a shot of just a Ken Schrader stand-up in this race car, bopping around, not even buckled in or anything. And then the commercial ends with you see the car on the track, and you hear the announcer Ken Schrader is going the wrong way, and like obviously it's a ridiculous premise, but like of all the people to have skip a race, you picked Ken Schrader. Like, Ken Schrader is the racer's racer. He races everywhere. Like, why would Ken Schrader be hanging out in this convenience store? Like, what was his goal there? Why was he doing that? And then also, like, how did anyone let that car on the track with a cardboard cutout in it? Like, there's just so many questions watching this. So I must have watched this like 20 times when I first discovered it.
So funny.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts?
I loved it. Fucking love it.
I just want to know how many takes he had to do with a mouthful of powdered donuts.
Yeah, I'd love to see the outtakes from that shoot, because I bet you they're gold.
Yeah.
I might have to write into the Kenny and Ken show and ask about this, because
that's actually a great idea. I bet you they talk about it.
I would love to know a little more about this commercial, because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, easily my favorite NASCAR commercial ever, I think. I can't think of one that's made me laugh harder than that.
I definitely like the one where Jeremy Mayfield notices his girlfriend's gasoline as perfume. That one's a really good one, too. That's the first one that pops in my head, but...
This one's pretty high-ranking, though.
Also, I want a Little Debbie now.
Yeah. Not a powdered donut, though.
No, not the donut.
No, definitely not.
Definitely one of the Nutty Butter guys. What are those things called?
Nutter Butter?
Is it Nutter Butter?
Yeah.
We called them Nutty Buddies when I was a kid. I'm not sure if that was...
Yeah, Nutty Buddy is right.
Wait, no, Nutter Butter is the cookie. Yeah, I think it's Nutty Buddy is just the bar.
But the trick is to put those things into the freezer so you can peel them off in layers. Ooh.
Yeah, I do that. I'm known to do that.
Yeah, we lived next to a Little Debbie factory when I was a kid, and we go hit the thrift store or the whatever the bakery store they had there. And it was 25.
Thrift store.
I think it was called the thrift store. I'm pretty sure.
That's a thing.
That's amazing.
We had, I don't think they're around anymore. We had Freihofers. They had stores all over our town, and they sponsored a bunch of dirt cars, including Kenny Tremont.
Word I've never heard before.
Yeah, but you could buy boxes for $0.25 a piece, and they sold all the like chocolate chips and flour and everything.
Jesus
It was
Christ.
awesome.
I would weigh 8,000 pounds.
We had a big old deer freezer that we'd stick them in out in the garage.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I fucking love Little Debbie's, man.
That's great.
Yeah, great find. I don't remember seeing that one on TV.
I don't remember either, but
I remember it from a few years back, but I had forgotten about it.
Somebody had posted it on either Twitter or Facebook or something. That's how I saw it, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, this is insane." So just wanted to chat about it for a minute.
So good.
Cool. Well, so for next week, we're gonna watch a full documentary, changing things up a little bit. Not although I think it might be some humor in here as well. But a couple friends of mine who aren't necessarily race fans, but like weirdo documentaries, told me about this. It's a movie called The Devil at Your Heels. It's a documentary from 1981 that chronicles a stuntman named Ken Carter and his attempt to jump a rocket-powered car over the St. Lawrence River. This was apparently pretty well received. And yeah, I mean, people are talking about it 40 years later. I think it was recently just like re-released on Blu-ray, but the entire thing is on YouTube, so that is on the playlist now. And it's not necessarily racing, but it is a motorsports entertainment type deal. So I think it fits in with the show, and I think it'll be entertaining. So
I noticed it on the
playlist.
I noticed it on the playlist this afternoon. And I watched about the first 5 minutes of it, and I'm very excited to dig into this. It looks pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it for a few weeks, and I was like, well, this will be the perfect inspiration to get me to watch the whole thing. So,
I mean, it opens up with the shot of the fucking jump, and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be ridiculous, whatever this is.
Yeah, I mean, this was already after Evil had tried the Snake River Canyon jump, not to jump ahead, but I've seen the attempt, and it does not go very well. So.
Way to spoil the documentary for us.
Sorry. Well, there's a whole hour and a half to figure out the beginning
how they fuck it up.
Yeah, how they fuck it up. So. Yeah. But yeah, so let's see. NASCAR is at Pocono this weekend.
Yeah.
A fun track to watch on TV, not so much to watch in person. This was probably one of my least favorite experiences going to a race as a kid, although I did get to see Dale Jarrett win there, so that was cool. But yeah, not a track I necessarily need to ever go back to, even though the racing is good.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to make it down there just to do it because it's relatively close. I've driven further for races, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And apparently, I guess that's why the fan zone is so good, because the racing sucks in person.
Well, it's just the fact that, like, you know, the only grandstands are on the front stretch, and, like, nothing happens on the front stretch. So it's like, you know, it's a big track. It's hard to see a lot of, you know, the back half of it. So it's just, it's a tough fan experience. But at the same time, the last few years, you know, they've gone to, you know, one weekend, and attendance does well, and again, the racing itself isn't bad.
Put on some good shows for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to put this in the notes, but J.R. Hildebrand is currently getting ready for the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, and he's driving one of Kyle Petty's old Cup cars as a part of this event. And there's some incredible photos and videos coming of this thing going up the highway.
Yeah, somebody sent me that.
With the clouds behind it and all that. Looks beautiful. Of course, JR, a fan favorite from IndyCar. Of course, sadly most famous for bending it on the last lap of the Indy 500 back in 2011, giving Dan Weldon his last win. But JR is a good driver. Seems like a good guy, and this is a really cool thing. And I love when they send weird shit up the mountain. And this is definitely one of the weirder things we've seen in a while.
Yeah, the imagery coming out of that is incredible.
And that road is insane. I don't know if you guys have ever been up that highway, but it is. You see video of the hill climb and you think, wow, those guys are fucking nuts. And you actually drive up the road and it's like, yeah, these guys are beyond fucking nuts, because this is the scariest road on earth.
Yeah, I know my stepdad drove up it, like, you know, decades ago, but I've never been there.
Yeah, it's all paved now, but especially back in the days when half of it was dirt. That's the most ballsy shit you can do. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful shots of this car. I'm sure you'll see them on the internet, and I'm sure we'll post one. But yeah, looks so good.
Yeah. Even though it's Ohio Speed Week, I don't know if I'm attending anything. Are you guys doing any racing stuff this weekend?
No, not this weekend.
Yeah, not this weekend. Just watching Pocono and whatever's on TV. And then, like I said, I'll probably be at Thompson if the weather holds off on Wednesday night.
I mean, there's a chance I got to see what's happening Friday, but like tomorrow's Fremont and I got to work, and it's supposed to rain later in the day, so I have a feeling that won't pan out very well. And Thursday I got a show, and Saturday I got a show.
Waynesfield is on Friday, I think.
Waynesfield? Where the fuck is that? Yeah. I don't know.
Time to learn. How do you feel about that one, True Love?
Waynesfield sounds like made-up speedway out of Wayne's World.
Yeah. Yeah, Waynesfield Raceway Park is, let's see here.
No, that's Thursday. Well, okay, they have Thursday and Friday. Okay. Where the fuck is that?
It's out by Eldora.
Oh, yeah, I'm not driving down there for that shit.
Yeah, it looks like it's a little bit east of Salina. So.
Yeah, no one's listening to this anymore.
You guys want to put some more shit through Google Translate? How do you say Waynesfield in Spanish?
All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at meetmeatapplebees, on Twitter, meetmeatthebees. I'm Speedway Screens and all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and MMA Applebees at checkout for 15% off.
I don't have anything to promote. It's still Snake Mountain True Love. There's an underscore, but
you figure out where it's at.
Yeah, just put it where you want. But send me all your Chicago recommendations. It's coming up soon, so send me all your favorite dive bars and
3 weeks, right? 3 weeks to the 4th of July? 2 weeks?
3 weeks. 2.5.
Yeah, it's coming up. That's exciting. And it sounds like it'll be the last time I get to see the street course, so, or at least for a while anyway. Yeah, if Carson Hocevar was right.
Yeah. Then I'll be at Atlanta next weekend, so.
Nice.
Back to back.
Fuck yeah. Good for you. Oh, that's my turn. Sorry.
Yes, your turn.
Cool, show's over. No, RobBoats_unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Also behind the kit for Charlie Marie. Like I said, we got shows coming up. None of you will be able to see. But I think we got a couple stateside shows to warm up for the big Euro run, and I'll be able to talk about those coming up here once I actually look at the calendar and figure out where they are. I know there's one in Rhode Island. Couldn't tell anything further than that, but it's a small state. You could probably sniff that out on your own. But we'd love to see you before we take off. And like I said, if any of y'all are at Thompson tonight, come check it out and say hi. We'll watch Ron Silk beat 4 other modifieds in the open feature.
You won't be getting chicken tenders for $4. I'll tell you that much.
Man, they're $8 at Thompson. Mm-hmm. But you get fries.
Okay, full price.
Yeah.
I just want the meat. Just give me the
meat, please. It ain't worth it. Because you can do that, but it's only $1 extra to get like a big old basket of fries. So I don't know why you wouldn't just get the extra starch and stuff it in your gut.
Yep. Well, as we're talking more about appetizers, looks like the check is here. So thanks for joining us again in Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.